Hello and welcome back to the channel. Tonight I'm going to talk about two casts that I took. Now the two casts were taken some months ago at the location where there had been a puma sighting. Now the cast you see in front of you, that was taken on the second night of the investigation. I found the imprint further up the hill, and it was on a slope down to a stream. Now straight away the first thing that caught my eye about it was the appearance of a leading toe. Quite clear there. I was also very interested by the spread of the toes. Definitely not canine-like. Another thing that got me interested was the pad seemed to have a little chunk out of it. So perhaps an injury, I thought. Now we'll also keep in mind for a little bit later is the distance between the pad and the toes. Okay? So that's the first cast. So what we'll do now is we shall look at it briefly at a picture of another cast. So this is the other cast. Now this came up on another big cat page on Facebook, and I was pretty pleased when I saw this because straight away I could see the similarities to mine. You can see yourself, leading toe, and the pad is quite interesting. You'd almost think there was a little bit out of it as well, but I think that's more down to the fact that this was just the material it was imprinted in. Though it's not beyond possibility that there is a little bit of an injury on the edge there. You see that animal? This was taken in Devon, this cast. Now we'll notice that the toes are quite close to the pad. But there'll be a reason for that, and I'll explain when we now look at the two side by side. So there they are side by side. Again, let's pay attention to the gap here between the toes and the pad. Now, why is there no gap here? Well, I believe this imprint was made on pretty level ground, probably just in mud, which accounts for the quality of the cast. Now my one was made, as I said, on a slope going down to a stream. Now, the reason there's a bigger gap between the toes and the pad is, and you'll know this yourself, if you walk down a slope, a steep slope, you'll feel your toes extending, and that's to give you balance so you don't tip over. And that would be, I think that would be exactly what was happening here as the cat went down the slope. So that's what I explain that by. Let's compare toe shapes now. Now you'll see that toe is quite thick. This one's quite thin. Well, I think the reason there's a difference is they're two totally different animals. Now you can't expect to have textbook paw prints from every big cat that you cast a print from. It's just not possible. Why is that? Because animals, just like people, have their differences. You can certainly see what species you're looking at, but on closer examination you will see differences. And that's what I think is going on here. But equally possible, that toe might be damaged, which also could account for its shape. Or could it be an older cat and for some reason the toe is a bit withered away or what? I don't know. And on this one here, this toe here and that one there, you can see a bit of a curve there and a bit of a curve here. And this toe and that one look pretty much the same. That one's a bit broken up, that one. But again, it's pretty much the same. So of course, when I saw this print here, I thought, I know exactly what I got. This is feline, and it must be from that puma that was seen. Because as I said, that was taken 2 days after the sighting, and that would be about 100, 125, 150 meters from where it was sighted in the field. So this is into the next field up. Now I have another cast we can look at as well, so I think we'll do that. Okay, so we'll have a look at this photograph first. I spotted this on the first night of the investigation, and as you can see, the ground was mainly grass, but there was a fair bit of mud. So I spotted this, and I decided to have a closer look at it because there was the appearance of toes here and here. So I asked the witness who was with me, I asked him to have a look, and I said to him, "Can you see any indication of claws?" So he looked and he said no. And I said, "I can't either." So I decided I would try casting this. Now I knew I wasn't going to get a very good cast out of it. And indeed I did not. So this is the cast I got. So you can see a toe there and a toe here. So the autofocus isn't working very well on this, so we'll look at the cast by itself in a minute. But if we turn it over, so this toe relates to that, that relates to that, and a partial toe here, and no sign of a smaller one. But this one appears to be the leading one. So now we'll just look at the cast a bit closer. Well, as you can see, it is a pretty poor cast, but from what I was seeing, I thought it would be worth taking anyway. So let's have a look. Okay, so that's what I believe is the leading toe there, and that'll be the outer toe. So if we flip it that way as it's lying, we're actually looking at a left paw, going by which is the leading toe. Now there's no indication, of course, from the cast because of the surface it was cast in, of that edge of a pad that I could see with my own eyes. And I actually showed the witness and he agreed he could see it as well, so that was good. So what you got, there's a partial bit of a toe there. So the fourth toe over here is missing. Now I really need to get a far better cast than that. Now the reason what interests me about this is the size compared to the other one, and we'll have a look at that now. Right, let's do some measurements there. So that's the leading toe, and as we see, it's probably a right paw. So from the edge of that toe to the middle of the leading toe is 2 inches. To the middle of what is probably the bare minimum of the third toe is 3 inches. So we can assume the fourth toe is going to be sitting about 4.25 inches. So that's a good width. Now we'll just have a look at this one. So let's go from there, edge of that toe. So that's you're just looking at 3.5 inches. So that's quite a difference in size. So that makes me think this is a back paw, this is a front paw. That's my thoughts on that. But as I say, I'm going to need better casts in future, and hopefully that will clear it up. Now, I'll tell you one more thing I did with regard to this cast here. I thought it would be a good idea, now that I had the photograph of this print here from Devon, I thought, why don't I ask some people their opinions on both casts? So I decided to ask some people at work. Now the folk at work, they know I'm into the big cats, but they have no interest in it themselves. So what I did was, when random people came past my place of work, I would show them the 2 photographs, and I asked them a very simple question. What are your observations? So 2 people said they were very similar. 7 people said they were similar. One of the 9 made the following observations on the cast, my cast. He said the pad wasn't clear, but that could be as a result of the material it stepped in, the pressure applied to the ground, or it could indicate an injury. And of course, injury was what I had thought was a possibility too. Another person later on thought the casts could have come from the same animal, that's a very interesting observation to make, but at different times and different locations. And again, this person thought that maybe the material stepped in could be the reason for any differences in the cast. So all were asked if they could see indications of claws. All said no. So none of the persons surveyed were made aware of where both casts were taken until they'd made their observations. And I think that's a very important point too, that was done. And they were quite surprised when I told them that this was from Devon and this is from Caithness. But to finish, we'll have one last look at this cast. Right, so I'll move the cast around just so you can have a better look at it. I'll try and move it slowly so the autofocus doesn't play up. But here you can see the length of this toe here, and you can clearly see the curve up at the end. There you go, you can get a really good look there. You can see again the curve in that toe. It's flat here, there's no claw mark on that toe there. Again, no claw mark. And that one there was just a little stubby toe. Let's move it around again. So there we are. That's a really good view there. In fact, looking at this one, I wonder if that toe's actually had damage at some point as well. Possible. But again, we won't know. Okay, so let's have a closer look at this. I'll move it slowly so the autofocus doesn't play up too much. So there we are, you can see, oh, there's the autofocus playing up. Right, okay, so I'll go a bit slower. There you can see the length of that toe there. Turn it nice and slowly. Again, you can see the nice curve of that toe. Notice, no claw mark. And again, there's that toe there. Again, notice, no claw mark in front. Turn it around. You get a nice view of the curve here, the toe. That's really good. Hopefully I will get better casts in future. It depends on what it steps in. And again, that's quite a little stubby toe. And again, no claw mark. And if we look at the pad area, yeah, you would think that was a chunk out of the pad. But looking again at this toe, I wonder if that's been injured at some point as well. But again, it could just be the way the imprint was made. Of course, this is an animal living in the wild, so you can expect it to will have some injuries from what it's been up to throughout its life. So there we are. That's a pretty good cast. And as I've said already, I think that's the back paw from that puma that was sighted. But hopefully I'll get better casts in the future and I'll show you them as well. I think that's all for now. I think I've done enough talking.